Oh.
Now we're live, so reintroduce.
All right. Hey, Matteo, welcome as well. We're just gonna start. We're just gonna start a little round of intros, and everyone is just gonna share who they are and what they want to bring to the do. Kyle, want to kick us off?
Sure. You right? Okay. Hey everyone, I am feeling wonderful this afternoon / morning, depending where you are in the world. It's great to see so many awesome familiar faces and your energy. I already feel super excited about all the amazing conversations around today. So quickly, I am the founder of Impact Alliance, and that is essentially a dashboard that allows people to monitor all sorts of things similar, like for instance, carbon credits, and they're basically their impact in the world. And I want to contribute some deep thinking to the group in terms of how we can build sustainable communities that reduce our impact on the planet and hopefully help all of us become more negative people. I'll kick it over to Matteo.
Thanks, Heidi. So here's Matteo from Portugal. Different location than the last time. I'm exploring a community called Regenerative Hills in the Algarve. Really beautiful, and low connection. So I hope he will hold me here until the last moment. And I am part of HIFA. I think all of you know what HIFA is. So, but my role in it is it's movement weaver. So I try my best to bring together different actors to really make this magic transformation towards a regenerative world. And I'm also initiator of something called the Regenerative Human Settlement, which is an initiative to bring together different actors to create what can be a regenerative human settlement of this different scale. And I pass it to Joachim.
Thank you, Matteo. Yeah, I'm Joachim. I'm on the dual dev team on the HIFA side. I really work on multiple tracks here. One is obviously the design and roadmap and the new features of the duo, discussing that and prioritizing that within the team. But then also thinking beyond the duo, where it can go next. I've created this concept of organization in a box. Obviously, another nice concept is a village in a box here. See where we can take that. But then also creating an ecosystem of the duos. So working with Paolo also on thinking what's coming next, right? What's beyond creating all of these different instances, but yet still being connected in some way, still enabling the different flows among the different entities. So we're all one united network there. So that's really my focus among a couple of other things at HIFA, but that's in a nutshell. I'm handing it over to, say, difficult name here, Jan Beltram. I love difficult names.
Thank you. I'm Jan. I'm speaking from Brazil, and I'm one of the co-organizers of the Meet Citizens program. And more feeling drawn to seeds projects and ideas. So I heard about the Village in a Box idea or project and in a Samara call, and I'm really curious. So this is my first time here, and I have a lot of experience in eco-villages, and I support eco-village education programs. So I'm coming here open and curious for beautiful things to happen. And I'll pass it over to Karsten.
Thank you, Jan. I'm in the Netherlands currently. I come from the startup world, platform development, business strategy in general, and in particular human development. I'm really interested in what we can do here in terms of getting a bigger platform going and then raising funding at scale and seeing how we can accelerate things. So very curious to see where this is all going.
Let's pass it on to
Right,
Sasha.
exactly.
Hi guys, I'm in New York and currently helping Anya with her project Heart. I would like to offer my design and front-end development skills. I think I can help organize the information visually, and that's actually what I like doing the most. I'll pass it on to, let's see, Paolo, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, so I really like the concept of the village in a box, so I'll like to help it building. And also this idea of a plant nursery, right, where you have all these species that could then flourish in any place. It's a good metaphor as well. So bringing this into fruition. And yesterday I was having a conversation with my wife. She was saying and complaining that the world is going crazy again. So it's sort of back to normal in her life, and I have to get serious in moving in EHSM to build really a concrete village where we can live and makes more sense to us. So that's a conversation that it's really gaining dimension here. So it gives a tangible layer to what we are doing. And I can pass it to Anton.
Hi guys, I'm calling from London. I guess my professional background is as an architect and property developer, and I can definitely help with the master planning and business modeling side of how we create these villages. I also do quite a bit of design on the side, kind of branding, UX, that type of thing. And I'm building projects here in the UK, so predominantly around multi-use workspace, but also partnering up with landowners to create these new co-housing developments. So yeah, happy to share my research and kind of prototypes, and really curious to see how we create really high value knowledge sharing that goes into the details of how these things work. In particular around the hardware and energy and kind of a circular economy side. I think that's something that really can be transferable across locations, whereas planning law is very, very unique to place, but we all need to figure out how to deal with energy better, how to deal with waste and food, and I think we can really benefit a lot from open sourcing that and yeah, coming up with blueprints that we can all share. So yeah, I'll pass on to Arturo.
Hi there, I'm right now in Portugal, Peniche. I came for surfing. I'm from Barcelona. My background is in software engineering. I've been working in corporate travel industry, building applications. And I wanted to change my point of view and do something that I feel really proud of, and I think is bringing good to for human existence and as well to the planet. So right now, I think this is the best chance I get to do that, and I feel very happy to be contributing to that. I'm gonna pass it to Kyle.
I think he went already. Let's go to Jeremy.
Hi all, I'm Jeremy. I'm based in Portugal and also looking at a few different sites to build some villages, and with a small team. I've been really enjoying all of our conversations with many of you this last week in the Discord channel. Thank you really, because it's been so inspirational, and yeah, thank you for helping me kind of like think around the sort of slight restructuring in terms of finding the right terminology that's accessible. I feel the more people we can like bring into this space, the more momentum we can create, and making it as accessible as possible is one of the key first areas to start. But I'm really excited to be here. Who hasn't gone yet? Could you, Jay, have you been? Go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jay. I'm in Portugal. I'm originally from California, but been here for 10 years. And I'm just super excited and energized following the conference. And I feel like it is the birth of the renaissance of many flavors of villages around the world. And it's both too late and right on time. And so I'm really excited to be a part of building the tools and helping progress that movement in whatever way possible. And I'm working on a development, regenerative smart village development here in Portugal as well. So happy to share our learning along our journey. Did everybody go? Maybe Soren? Or just listening? Anybody else?
I could check in real quick. Reiki, most of you know me. I'm coming from a lens of economic and governance design. I feel like that's where most villages probably have the most hardship because there's the least amount of education and support and tools around that. So that's where I'm most focused on, is how do we design new economic governance and organization systems for setting up villages. And I will pass it to Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, for me, I think everyone knows by now about the Dream Factory in here, so I'm not gonna mention it. But yeah, what we want to bring to this is basically a prototype and a space to create those technologies. And what I'm bringing personally is I have a tech career. I've been more than 10 years working for all kind of tech products, and I've been building the technologies that I'm using for Oasis since like 5 years or so. And it's actually stuff that I've been using for a previous startup and whatnot. And this is what I'm looking to bring to this basically bootstrapping all the technologies so that we can just quickly create some technologies that we can use for those villages, and then over time integrate it with more blockchain aspects. That's my goal. And someone just came for Annie. So yeah, but so for today, I think we should dive a bit more into specifics of what we're trying to achieve together. And so I think what would be really helpful is everyone that wants to be part of one of the circles. Like we talked about all those different ideas. One is a village in a box, which is a technology for villages. One is a funding mechanism. At some point, we even talked about doing like lobbying for regenerative villages. And there's all these different ideas, but I think what would be useful is to kind of start breaking those down. And I would love to see different people taking ownership of each of those different pieces and also having resources allocated to it. So if we feel like we need developers and whatnot in each one, then it would be great to kind of assign it. But first, maybe Reiki, you can walk us through the different capitals. People have been listing out what they are bringing to this do in terms of, all the capital that's required to bootstrap a project like this.
Sure. So I'm just going to go over what people have filled out. So I'll share this deck here in the channel if no one else has it. There it is. All right, so these are all proposals. I will help craft them and put them up to seeds and kind of pitch for them, but ultimately it still comes down to what the citizens want to vote for people who are familiar with seeds. Maybe you've experienced that. I do believe something like this might get a lot of support. So I'm saying for this alliance, I would like to put a campaign together to ask for 2 million seeds. So it's about $100,000 in today's value. This is escrowed seeds, so this just serves as an asset base to raise additional capital for this alliance. And potentially some campaign funding as well for gifting out to people who contribute to this. So that's really what Seeds is also about, is funding campaigns to gift out to serve the regenerative renaissance. I believe that villages and helping people transition to villages and providing open source tools and knowledge and all the stuff we're providing here is a huge part of that. So I do see that there's a potential for running campaigns to help, finance and subsidize what we're doing here. So that's support from Seed size. From Haifa, I'm also going to be putting together a proposal for about 100,000 K for taking the do and building the village do. So changing the UI, actually coding it, and everything that a group of people needs to come together, set up their own token for their village, start making decisions together and walking through the process of how they actually design their new village and eco-village. So that's the idea for this 100K grant. Well, it wouldn't be a grant, rather an investment into this alliance that we're doing, this RVA now, because RVBA was a little bit too long. Movement building support. You see some people from Haifa already here to help, tell the story, get this alliance out there, bring it to villages and all that. Storytelling support, being able to craft documents, articles, share what we're doing and all that. Technology support, the do it self, and then a value swap potentially if RVA sets up its own equity token, we could do a Haifa and RVA equity swap so that we co-own each other. It's kind of what I really like as a model with these new dues is the ability to start co-investing into everyone else. So we can start trialing that out with Haifa. So these are also proposals. The membership of Haifa would have to pass this. I would just be putting the proposal together. If there is a group that's willing to actually take that 100K and go forward with it, then I will put that proposal together and we'll go from there. All right, moving down to OASA. Is someone, Sam, yeah, do you want to speak to this? Or do you
yeah, sure. Yeah, so basically what I'm providing is, basically we're building this village here, traditional dream factory, and we already started building a lot of those tools that we're talking about. Actually, should I just do the demo now so I can show a little bit? Or should we do it after?
You can share.
All right, I can show you briefly. So basically, OASA, we've been working on this for a few years now, and basically we already have put a lot of thoughts into what are all the user journeys that we want to take people on. So actually, I can also show you the designs. I'm just thinking of that now. But so this is some of the stuff that I think is really important for any kind of village, and that should be kind of the core of the village in a box. It's being able to onboard new villages, members review, booking trials, all this kind of stuff. And the onboarding is the first step that we worked on. So like here's all the UX design kind of for it. Well, we really put a lot of thought into how do you actually bring the right people to your village and how do you create that culture and whatnot. And a lot of this is already functional. So on OASA, you can apply for an account. And so you just fill out a form, and all of this is like super customizable. So actually, like any village could already implement all the technologies that are on here. And my goal is just to open source it and make it available to anyone. And then once you sign in, we already have a whole member platform. So basically you get like channels and whatnot, you get events and tasks, you're able to book properties, you have admin settings. And basically for us, like part of the flow is that we review the applications. So when someone apply to get an OASA account, the applications get put in here, and then we can reach out to that person, and then we can decide to activate the membership. And the following step is then to be able to purchase tokens and to really come and live at the property and have a 2-week trial. So this is just our process, but the goal is to kind of automate all the stuff. And then I started building out some stuff to be able to list, to create listings. So say if you're renting out rooms or whatever, depending on how you're setting up your village, to be able to have a very simple interface. I just deployed this before the call, so I guess this doesn't work. But yeah, so we have a lot of these kind of stuff, and you have like these private channels, so you can have channels for each location and so on. And the goal is then to add the whole blockchain layer on top of this. And yeah, and then we have the events, and you can attend and so on and so on. That was just to give a quick little demo of what this is. And well, Rick, you want to go back to your slides? So that's the first thing that I would like to provide, and because I'm going to be just developing on this anyway, whether we set up the do or not. So I think it makes sense to just put more resources and more people to co-create this piece. The second piece is from traditional Dream Factory, so the current space we're at. And the proposal here is to anyone who wants to come and live here and build from here. It's offering like a space to build it, which I think is pretty neat, because I think that's one of the big values of those villages, is that it's actually a physical place where you can come and create technologies and meet the right people and have like physical gatherings. So instead of, the do having to rent an office somewhere, I think it should definitely be part of those villages. Another potential option would be to do like an equity swap, which we would have to discuss with the members and whatnot, but potentially swapping like 5% equity against like a shared pool, or however we end up doing this, but that's like an option for down the road. And yeah, and then lastly, below on the next slide, I put rebuild. And yeah, I mean, rebuild, obviously, we're really happy to support all the technologies that are going to be created from this do, and helping promote all those technologies through our events. So we're going to be having a physical gathering in Portugal in September. And so that's obviously like a great place to just get people to meet and talk and see what we actually need and to spread the movement. That's what I have. I think Jeremy is next with resource.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love all the UI, Sam. It's looking really, really fantastic. That's going to be incredibly beneficial. Thank you for all the work that you put into that. So we have some investors. What we're looking to do is try and bring them into a larger investment fund. So we've been talking a little bit about that with a few people. And so they can then deploy their capital from there into any village that they think merits their support. And we're just trying to, that's what we've been back and forthing about this week, about what kind of, fund could exist and what could we do to de-risk it for the investors, but also make it beneficial for the for the villages and themselves. So that's an area we're super interested in. I love storytelling, so I'd love to be a part of that. I can certainly offer that to our alliance. Design as well. So I also do branding and a little bit of UX, and I love kind of like making things, so I can always add that to anybody or any part of the tech, and community building support. Yeah, I've got an app that is, we did our first big pilot with 1,000 people, and it's an app to combine everybody's knowledge and creativity to solve problems. And so you can put in a brief, and then you can invite thousands of people to come and solve that brief. We were in the middle of building it in React Native, so it'd be an iOS, but I actually would much rather have it as a dApp and rebuild it in that. So that would be something I would like to gift and turn open source for everybody to use. That's me. So pass it on to, I can't see that, Anton.
Yeah, perfect, because I need to run soon. So yeah, part of the rebuild team, so fully behind that. I think one of the things that I'm maybe a year or two behind, maybe 6 months to a year behind Sam and Annie, but we have this beautiful place in Suffolk called Home Farm, which we can rent and start transforming. So it could be a case study, and the whole Summer Leighton estate. But I think more practically in the short term, developing e-learning content around how to approach master planning, business development of these villages, and how to obtain planning, how to think about land use models, and then a little bit on branding and comms, if needed. I can help Sam out. And yeah, and I think the other aspect is regen jobs. So something I've noticed is there's a big skill shortage of people that actually understand how to run regenerative systems, especially when it comes to farming of the future, kind of understanding also clean tech and how buildings work and all of that side of things. And so how do we also create a recruitment ecosystem so people can easily find jobs in organizations? And I think that Hilo is awesome, but it's a kind of social networking world. But there's a layer which is just focused on matching skilled people and organizations that can benefit from collaboration. So just thinking that through, I've hacked it together with Airtable and Pori. But I just think it's interesting to build these databases of CVs and skills and see where that goes. And in particular around agriculture, because there's actually such a shortage of knowledgeable people that really know how to do this well, and making sure that they can create good online videos and content so we can all learn from each other. So yeah, that's kind of my area that I'm looking into, agriculture and real estate. And yeah, happy to help. I can do the odd branding and logo if needed. So yeah, still learning this whole seeds ecosystem as well. And yeah, excited to keep joining the calls and seeing where I could fit. But thanks guys for organizing, and speak tomorrow, Sam and Annie.
See you tomorrow.
Oh, he's gone. I was going to compliment him on his logos. I mean, gorgeous. So yeah, definitely branding and logo design. Atma, do we have Martin? I don't think he's on the call. So feel free to dive in here. Looks like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to share this very well, so you can read it. Okay, moving on. Alexandra, you're here.
Yeah, mine is going to be super short because, yeah, I already said in the beginning that that's what I would like to do. Organize the information visually, which is UI, UX. I can participate in creating user journeys and think through that, and code that as well. So front-end development, very short. I can pass it over to the next person.
Epic. Paulo. Wow.
Yeah, I just, well, I didn't fill in this with value flow, but I think that value flow needs to be at service in Portugal. So what we are doing, it's really doing research and advocacy in value flows to start with, so that we enable true value flows, the value flows of life. And we are also trying to build additional financial instruments. So we have this project going on called the Regenerative Land Trust Fund, which is an equity-based fund that we are trying to first research to see if it makes sense for the Portuguese environment. And in Portugal, we have a lot of community building already, trying to weave in experience in land regeneration and partners that could help us do this type of projects, really based in Portugal, but looking forward to also to take this to somewhere else where it makes sense. And I didn't fill in, and I was thinking, okay, why not? But there you are.
Excellent. Thanks, Paulo. Anyone watching this in the show notes, you're going to be able to see a link to this deck. Feel free to come in here. And if you want to add to this alliance, you can propose what you might want to bring to it down below. And anyone on this call, feel free to do the same. Cool. Yeah, so I wanted to get kind of an overview of what we have as far as this alliance is concerned, what capital's here and what's available for us. So I think this is going to keep growing as more members fill this out. But it just helps us get a grasp there. I know the second thing that Sam and Jeremy both wanted to do is then break out into circles. So currently I have two different groups, one going over the village design, or the village tool design itself. So talking about the UI, UX, what that actually looks like. I think that would be one group. There's another proposed group on funding. Is there any other breakout groups that you guys want to do besides those two? Cool. So are we happy with those two? Sam? Yeah. All right.
Sounds good. I think it's definitely the two most talked about ones.
So we have room 1. We're going to rename it Village Design, and room 2 is going to be Funding Design. Fair enough. So they're open. You guys can choose them yourself. If you want me to assign you to a room, just let me know if you don't know how to do it.
Where was it?
I still don't have the button, but last time it took some time as well.
Which one do you want to be in?
I'll go to 1.
All right, Village Design.
Thanks.
Nice.
Near the park.
Nice, very nice.
So there's a couple of ways we can go this. I have one way where we can show a little bit about where the do's currently at and our proposal for building on top of that. If you guys are interested in going that route, I'd also love to hear more about Sam. Like, I didn't know you guys had that cool platform. It seems awesome. So I'm wondering if there's a way of just literally plugging those two together. I don't know if that works that way, but it might.
Goal, yeah.
Say again?
I think that's a goal, yeah, to kind of bridge the gap between the two. And I think you guys have done a lot of work on the governance piece and all the stuff, and we have more been focused on the actual community management piece and what we need day to day.
me, it looks like a perfect marriage. Yeah, is there any other proposals for how we might want to hold this space? I don't want to dominate with that idea.
I think that it's great to review Haifa and as well Samara, how they did the separation. So that would be great. See if we can build on top.
Yeah, and I think Arturo also had some questions about how we physically start the do instance. Like, do we pull the code? I don't know, how does it work technically? Maybe I don't know if you wanna. I don't know if you wanna run through the very basics, top bird's eye view of that.
We have the most appropriate person in the world to answer all these questions with us today. So Joachim's here, so maybe go over a little bit about the multi-tenant do. It's not quite ready yet, but maybe if you have mock-ups or anything you want to share about what that all looks like, then you can run you through some of those things. Because what you
sure.
Sorry, I'll pass it to
you. Okay. Maybe 5 or 10 minutes, right? Then we can circle back on this. I want to start with sort of the concept of the village in a box, right? To me, this is sort of an assortment of tools and protocols. You know, I don't see it as a single platform or single tool, right? So for me, that entails like the governance system, the payroll system, you showed us the booking system for rooms, for example, right? The marketplace could reach into food and education, you know, pieces that are all part of sort of this village in a box. For me, this is almost like a physical thing where you see a box arriving in a village, right? That has no idea what's going to happen to it next, right? It arrives at the village, people open that box and suddenly see these different tools and protocols and really toys to initially understand what kind of game is this that we're starting to play, right? But to me, it's also a serious game. It's an infinite game. You know, it's a thing that really impacts the lives of people inside the village. So just about the idea for village in a box, right? So I want to put that in the context of we're already building great applications. You know, the stuff you're building is fantastic, right? We have something to contribute, and putting that all together in a set of different tools, I think that would be the goal of this village in a box concept. Then talking about Samara, right? So Samara is the first what we call sort of a meiosis process. So meiosis is if you have Haifa as the organization suddenly realizing we can't do everything. We have to sort of put some of the capacities into another organization, into another entity outside of Haifa. And so that's when suddenly Samara came up as a way to say, we're going to take some of these concepts that you develop and want to bring it further, right? Want to bring it out into the world and find some other pilot spaces that may be interested in starting to get organized, you know, create an organization, create an entity, and create a do to actually manage some of the ways of governing, some of the ways to pay people, really, to create a compensation model, to create a membership model also, you know, who's part of this, what kind of stages your people were going through when they joined the organization. So this is really when sort of Samara started to think through to become an independent entity, right? And we launched this actually through a quest, you know, in Haifa, to said, okay, we're going to support this. We propose a quest, and it got accepted, and now they went to the first stage of creating the Samara entity, right? And that has helped them a lot, really, to become independent and to think through what's all needed to start an organization. In Samara's case, this is really starting from scratch. They're not an organization yet, but they're becoming one, and they're understanding what is needed now. You know, the circle structure, the compensation model, the membership model, and the governance model. There's a lot of work that goes into building an organization, right? And I can see a very similar process that we could do here with an instantiation of another do that is specifically for creating villages out there. And I want to distinguish one thing here. Maybe if I can share, is it okay? I share one slide here real quick. Great. Not this one, not this one, this one here. So here's Haifa with the core technology, right, that we're providing through the payroll system, the governance system, and building a new feature set here. Outside of this space is what I call the accelerator or incubator space. These are kind of special types of do's that link into the wider network and wider ecosystem. So if you have an XO here, what I call them, an accelerator or incubator, they might be able to build, 100 of different villages out there, right? And they kind of coordinate all of these activities. It's like a hub. So for me, it's a very important element here to create what I call a bioregion hub, from where you launch all of these different villages in that case, right? In Samara's case, it's all of these different entities or organizations that are interested in becoming, self-organizing and building something together. And for me, this is part of the concept of the organization in a box, but there's others too, the marketplace in a box and the village in a box. And I think there's an overlap too between building a marketplace inside a village that's necessary, right? And coordinating village activities in itself. So for me, this is kind of the meta model here to say, yes, there's Haifa core tech, and we want to work together with other developers, of course, to create better features that are more aligned with the different types of do's that we're building out there. And Paolo has done a great job in, sort of distinguishing what kind of do's are there, right? In what spaces they're operating. And then really going through these waves, right? So wave after wave. So these XOs create these entities, villages that might in itself create another XO, right? And they go into the further out there into the network with more and more of these tools. So that's kind of the model here, and where we are right now, as Rocky mentioned, we're still targeting for Q2, end of Q2, end of June, that we're able to create a multi-tenant do. That means you can have your own do, your own space, and configure it to your needs. That means you can have your own tokens in there, your own governance model, your own way of structuring the do, and inviting people, membership model. This is all kind of part of a configuration of a do, right? And it's very self-organizing. You're the owners really of that do, and you decide what to do with that. So I think for the village in a box, what's really needed is this hub, right? Sort of this core, this center where all of the activities are spawning off from, right? Into, interested other parties that want to build these villages. And some, design, from a design perspective, we've done a lot of work in the past. You saw Reiki Stack, some of the maps that you see there, and these visual graphs, they are based on prototypes we put together that can be, I think, fairly easily embedded into the UI that we have, or merged with some of your work that you have done in the past. So that's my bigger picture here. I know there are a lot of details we haven't gone into, but I'll just stop here and see if questions come
I think for the technology side, I think we can differentiate between two things. One is the do itself and how do we make decisions and so on. And I think here we should just spin up a fresh instance of the do, and this is how we decide like how to allocate resources, how we vote on things and so on. And then I think the technology itself that we're going to be deploying to villages, I think we should kind of keep that off the chain for now, so we can iterate over it quickly and really make a really nice EOI and really nice tools to operate the village. And then slowly we can start putting in some more blockchain feature into it. That's kind of how I see it. And when we talked with Paolo, that was also a bit the two things. One is like creating the prototype, and the other thing is creating the organization that oversees the creation of that prototype and also like support villages in general. Does that make sense? Those two aspects?
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess for that, I guess first of all for the do technology, like I guess we're not in a big hurry to deploy it, right? You said by end of June or something. That's when it would be multi-tenant do would be available. So maybe we should just wait to instantiate it by then, and before that we can maybe just come up with what our values, what are we trying to achieve, and so on and so on.
Yes.
Or do we want to start something now?
Samara mapped out, and honestly, it'll take us probably that long to figure it out. But run our do in a database. So that's how we're going to figure out how we distribute voice, how we're distributing value, like how do we quantify value, what roles are there. All of these decisions still need to be made before you plug them into a do. The do just decentralizes it all, makes it simple, but we still need to make all those decisions together. And I think that's going to take us time. I think by the time we actually are ready to move into the do will probably be ready. So that's for our alliance here, and stepping into a do and quantifying all the value we're bringing to this alliance. Simultaneously, when that multi-tenant do is ready for other do's to start, I would love for us to be able to give it to villages as well. So I think we could be starting on the UI like you're talking about, Sam, where we're building the front end components, but building them in tangent so that when the multi-tenant dues are available, we actually just plug them together and it's the whole ecosystem, right? So I think we need to start building it together today so that it's ready at the same time, because we already have, and I'm sure you guys as well, dozens of villages that are wanting to use this and start getting in. So the sooner we can get it to them, the better.
Yeah, totally. I guess for that piece, there's just a legal aspect of it, which is still a little tricky. For example, in Portugal, blockchain tokens aren't recognized, so we just don't know where it's gonna go. So I think villages will be a bit reticent to actually like tokenize their equity just now. So I think for them, it's important to have some tools that they can start using. And for example, for what we are thinking right here, the Dream Factory, is to start operating the governance and all this kind of stuff on the blockchain, but without associating any financial value to it, just to kind of take it step by step instead of jumping right in and then, well, not really knowing what the legal status looks like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a token's just a token, right? So it's up to the village to decide if that token represents equity or not. They could have it and it just could be the contribution token, or they don't even need to have a token at all. They could just be having the HIFA voice, or sorry, their voice token and be using that to vote. Or maybe they just want one person, one vote, and they don't even have a voice token, you know? So all of that is flexible, and yeah, it's totally fine.
Right. The one thing is, what I saw with Samara is early on they want to start building a compensation model. So how are people actually rewarded participating? I mean, they're spending serious time inside Samara, so they want to see how that plays out in the future. And at early stages, it's of course difficult if you don't have investors yet, so people can't get sort of fiat currency to support their own livelihood. So it's good to come up with this, it's a compensation model that consists of multiple tokens, right? Because you get voice, and that's for the governance part of that, right? You get the asset token, that's more of creating value for the own do, so people recognize that, and that value eventually can be exchanged, and can go, in decentralized, exchanges and other places. And then other tokens that you want to create in this space, right? Eventually, like a bioregional token, right? So that's a token that can actually exchange value across the different villages, right? So that is a fairly complex conversation, right? And people need obviously be comfortable with. That's the right award for my kind of input that I give, for the difficulty of my task here. So I just want to mention, you will see that early on that people are asking for that.
Makes sense. Arturo, maybe like, since I'm guessing your interest here is in integrating with the do technology, right? Mainly.
Yeah, well, I think we have to do some prototypes, and I think it's better just to handle it in database, and then we can change it, and it doesn't affect with the blockchain and messing with the smart contracts. So I think the prototype right now, it's better just to focus in technologies that we are flexible to use. The DAO, I think it will be very interesting to use it for the alliance, for the compensation models right now. And as well, we can start investigating how to connect the new DAOs, village DAOs with this upper alliance. Maybe, I don't know. I think right now, what I think we should focus to building some prototypes that we can all agree, building flows, as well at the same time, the compensation model that you mentioned, Joachim, I suppose it will be easier to bring developers and people to work if they can sustain themselves focusing full time doing that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, go ahead, Ricky.
This is sidetracking because I think this is us designing the Regenerative Village Alliance, but still, I'll share this piece because this is really nice. This is what Samara did. This is their spreadsheet, so I'm just making a copy for us right now. So we can just remap over the same spreadsheet, and they put in everyone who is contributing, how much they're contributing as far as time, so how much of the tokens that they're earning for that time, and they've created a nice little multiplier. If you're contributing earlier on, you have a higher multiplier because there's more risk, and the later you're contributing, the lower the multiplier because less risk that's involved in participating, etc. So we could use this spreadsheet, we could scrap the whole thing, but it's here if we want to have a template to run with. And one more thing on just the tokens themselves, if they're not legally recognized. What we are doing at the very, very beginning of Haifa is we are planning on having a legal entity. And then this was just tracking because we didn't want to have to all sign freaking paperwork every month to redistribute equity and stock. So what we said is we'll do it all on the chain. And then every year we'll come together and look at the chain and then sign equity and reshift the equity balances every year, right? And bring in lawyers. So that's a nicer way to do it. Is like the tokens are just
nice. That's funny. We just came to the conclusion with our stuff that that the legal entity is just going to be a co-op or something, but then the one vote a year is basically just to enforce the system of the blockchain. So you just vote on saying, okay, like I accept all the changes that the blockchain that happen in the blockchain. So that's cool. I didn't know you guys were doing like that as well. I can maybe also share our model. If you can enable.
Yep, you already have it.
Cool. Let me. Oh. No, I can't share for some reason.
And strange. I reset it. Are you able to share now?
No.
Maybe I'll make you a co-host just for. And it doesn't let me make you a host. I guess it doesn't want you to share. Weird. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna show the spreadsheet that we have for our village, because that can maybe also come in handy when we're looking at how to think about those dues for villages. But so strange that I can't share. Why?
Maybe we could propose that. I would love to have a breakout later this week then where we get together to design the RVA due itself. So what does contribution accounting look like for everyone who's showing up to this alliance? And I think that's a separate dialogue from then designing the actual village toolset itself, which I think I would love to have both of those conversations. And then Alexandra, I know if you're working on UI and UX and stuff, would love to have you there. And then Sam, you can talk about everything you're presenting if you have any wireframes or mockups. So it would be great to kind of walk through that, see where everything overlaps and just kind of design one model where we bring it all together. So I'd love to do that. Just putting that out there.
Yeah. So the ways that we started doing it is I showed you those UX flows for each user journey. That's what I would like to do as a do. It's to take each of those user journeys and have someone really design the whole thing. And I mean, for example, our village, we wrote a pink paper describing how we want the whole system to operate. And then we basically just putting that into those UX flows. Does that make sense? And
yeah, I'm game.
Yeah, I think that's easy to like create a tool when you have the clear journey of like whichever section. Yeah.
Are you gonna send it over, Sam? Can we share and look at it at some point? I know you cannot share now, but
if you want me to share, you can send me a link to it. I can share my screen.
So the onboarding is in the document. So let me put it in this doc, and then there's a link to the UX designs. Yeah.
And I also know we have just a few minutes left, and maybe we'll come back together as a group. And I would love to hear from everyone. So click the UX design here. It's awesome.
So this one was just for the onboarding, but the goal is to take each of the journeys, and then, well, first of all, I think we should list out what are all the user journeys that we want in this core package for the village in a box. What are all those things that are really important in order to operate your village? Onboarding was very important for us because I think it's really about being able to see, like, well, to bring in the right kind of people and have the right kind of incentives and so on. So yeah, can you go through those a little bit?
Awesome. I saw this tool today too that works with Figma that automatically puts it into it codes it for you. So I'll share that tool with you guys because that might be really easy. Cool. Did you want to say anything else about these? Because I'm gonna have to just go through these more in detail on my own.
Well, actually, so you can also, if you toggle on the top left, there should be a toggle to go to the other view, I think. Flow prototype, exactly. So this can be like a really useful kind of tool. Oh.
Yeah, doesn't.
If it's working. There you go. Basically, it's just going through visually, like what are the decisions and what does the whole journey look like with all the different stakeholders. So for example, here it's taking, like someone lands on the website, they want to apply, and then the application is sent to this list that you guys saw earlier in the demo, and then any member can then review them, and so on and so on. But I think if we design these UX flows for all the user journeys, I always think it's important to have in the village in a box. That would be, yeah, ideal. And well, so the designer who did this stuff for me, we've just been paying her. So I mean, I don't know if we want to either find some internal resources to do it, or if we're happy to just put a bit of money towards that. I'm happy to contribute some to it. But I think what's important is to list out, what are all those user journeys that we need to figure out, and then really just build it out into a platform. And yeah, I mean, we're already implementing the platform, and since we already have a space, that means that people can actually use a booking system to book their stays at the Dream Factory and so on. So we're really quickly seeing what works, what doesn't work, and so on.
Oh my gosh, yeah, this is great. Then re-proposal, maybe the next call we have is just going over the 3 main user journeys that we're seeing right here, and then designing that together. It looks like you might have most of it. I'm seeing a couple things that I'd like to add in here just from my perspective, but yeah, I'd love to have this as a follow-up.
Cool. What do you think? So what do we think the top journeys are? I listed a few in that document. If you want to go back to the document. But I mean, I wrote this very quickly, so so yeah, onboarding and then booking. So those 2 is what I've been thinking about a lot and starting to build, and what we should have operational within the next few days. And then we have summary emails also that's already functional. Basically, the idea is that instead of being able to, instead of constantly receiving notifications and whatnot and having like driving people to your platform, we're trying to actually minimize the impact on people's attentions and whatnot. So you can just have a summary email that says, here's all the info you need for your stay when you're checking in. So really making that really nice and have all the info in there. And then events is something important, being able to bring villagers together. That's also something that we have a prototype of already, but obviously, like, would be nice to iterate and to come up with some nice designs for it. And then there's the stuff that you guys have with the quest and the community proposals and that kind of things. And that's something either we can just take, maybe just take what you have in Haifa already, and then just see how it would look in a village context. Maybe that makes the most sense.
Yeah, a user journey I see is all the permaculture villages and farm stays. So it's kind of a booking paired with a quest, where you do a booking where you have a cost, and then it proposes all the different quests you can do while you're staying there in order to pay for your booking. So if it's $50 a day or whatever to do it, there's all these quests where you can earn your $50 and maybe even earn more, you know.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's the goal of it. The goal is to have it really broad. So a quest could have any kind of contribution attached. So it can be like different kind of tokens. It can be equity. It can be cash. It can be credit for spending on housing and so on and so on. The goal is to kind of make it generic so that it can work for all the situations.
I think it can work also in between members, like you create
Also,
a quest
exactly.
and then some other member responds directly to your quest, and then it just keeps the value in between the two. So apart from the community or the village.
Exactly. We're looking to have two types, even whole businesses, not just quest, but we're looking to have businesses that can be part of the Dream Factory, where you can have the community-owned businesses. So that's a business that that's operated and owned by everyone, and that benefits everyone. And then you can have personal businesses, like I can come to this place, and I can launch maybe a mushroom farm or whatever. But then you can hire other people of the community into your own business, and the business gives a profit share to the community. Yeah, so that's one. So I mean, I think you guys have done an awesome job with that. So I would maybe just take what you have, and we can kind of plug it into this UI and think about how it would look within a village. Then governance. I mean, that's also something that Hyper has a lot of. And you guys have thought a lot about it. So maybe Reiki or I don't know who, maybe someone from your side wants to take a leadership on those flows and start thinking about them.
Yeah, definitely. And when we go over the flows, we can show exactly what it looks like and how it all works here, because it looks nice. Yeah. The designs you put together, and also it's the same designs as Hypa, you know. So, yeah. So I think it'll fit really well together in that sense.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. I'm just looking at the time, top of the hour, and I want to bring everyone back together.
Yeah, so, yeah, let's do that.
Does anyone else have anything they want to share here before we come back?
Well, just a question about like like the possibility for the villages to start their own do. Is that going to be a tool?
Yeah, that's an idea, but yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so that's the multi-tenant piece that we're talking about, and it'll work a little bit like Discord. So you guys have all the different, you know, servers on the left side. That'll be all the different dues that you're a part of. That's how we're looking at that.
And by the way, like the last user journey that we didn't go over is exactly that. It's starting a village. So yeah, that whole flow that you mentioned.
Yes, so that's one we would love to hone in on and have ready by June, because that's when everyone's going to onboard, start their village, and then that's of course when the onboarding then happens. So I think this is definitely the very first step. So this is what I've got a lot of thinking around, and I would love to actually start building first. Is the beginning. So yeah.
Cool. All right. So
I love
it. Maybe okay. So maybe the action here is that you can start doing maybe the user like that, the user flows the same as we had, and then we'll start off map it out from there.
Yeah, awesome. I'll just use the Figma and stuff that you have here. I know it's the top of the hour, so I want to respect everyone's time. So maybe we could just do a quick, you know, harvest session of the top things that we were talking about in our circle, and then close out for the week. Sam, you're kind of at the heart of ours. Maybe you want to unpack ours, and then whoever wants to for the other circle.
Was that me?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So on our side, we talked a little bit about how we can co-create those tools for the villages, and well, so first of all, we were thinking that probably we need to break out between the do, which is the governance for operating the organization that's creating the tools, and then iterating over the the prototype for the village in a box, which is really just creating that toolkit that we can actually implement and that we're already using here at the Dream Factory. And so for that toolkit, there's those 7 user journeys, more or less, that we listed in that document. And the goal is to really just start building out all the user flows for each of those. Some of them we identified that where Haifa already has done a lot of the work and a lot of the thinking. So just implementing those ideas and wrapping it up into a nice user journeys that makes sense in the context of a village. And others is more what OASA has been doing and packaging that into a toolkit that can be redeployed for new villages. Yeah, I'll let the other group go.
Thanks, Sam. We're just doing some technical juggling over here, guys, so bear with us. Okay, we talked about, if I go in reverse, what we discovered is that a weekly water cooler event call that we can use to kind of just brainstorm more of this, I think would be good. So we're going to organize something like that. And we had a great conversation about how we have a lot of our conversation was focused around how value is stored, how value flows, and what is value, as well as in the future. Basically, how does our definition of value and trust change over time? And these core concepts are really important because a lot of our issues surrounding the economics are built off of the psychology. Like, for instance, economics, a common definition is that it's the psychology of how humans think, right? It's because a lot of it depends on how we value things. And so there's a lot of great content I want to share, and that I think Paulo, what the items that he's researching and studying, his group is doing is really interesting, surrounding this concept of extractive value farming versus measuring other things that can change the valuation of land. For instance, carbon retention, biodiversity, and other secondary items that are not yet monitored that can also provide a source of value rather than just the economic the existing traditional definition of value for land. So my apologies for sounding a little discombobulated. We had so many good ideas. It's hard to kind of sum it up in one succinct format. I'll leave it open to anyone else. Does anyone want to jump on that from what I said from our group?
I'll just add one parallel frame to what we were talking about. We spent most of the time discussing value in different forms, but in terms of specific fund creation, getting to a point where we can think about what is in the investors, the current fiat investors' perspective, a gift that we can bring as a collective that could help speed up the due diligence process or help accelerate the trust process to allocate funds would be interesting. And so if there's some, I think this goes very much in line with all the ideas in the village in a box, but if the project profiles can start to gain more shape, where there's, a 20-hectare project with, centered around ecotourism and an education center. Okay, that's super legible. I know how that works. Does the team have experience? Here are the technical components. Here are the resource management components. And if the community does a bit of that due diligence and vetting and accreditation, that could help accelerate the allocation. So some ideas around how we could also build course and accreditation type things.
I have a question about that because we are splitting fund and village in a box. I don't know if the alliance will be as well the fund, or how do you envision that? Like all this tooling and all this expertise will be collected to as well to improve the success rate of the fund and to bring new investors and to as well R&D for the villages. It will be all set up in the alliance pack, let's say. How do you see that?
I could plug in one idea here. There's this other group I'm working with. It's an index fund for regenerative food. And it's this one organization that's pooling capital together and then investing into a lot of farmers and local food technology platforms, et cetera, et cetera. And then the pitch to then investors is, hey, you get to invest in this index fund, this conglomeration of all these different projects that are all supporting regenerative food. I think we could do that same model here for regenerative villages, where this Regenerative Village Alliance is actually an index fund representing a fractional share ownership of all of these different villages that RVA has helped get set up. So we set up a village, maybe we take 5% ownership of that village for helping them get set up. And then if investors want to come in, they can invest into this and then own a share of all the villages. And that investment capital is what goes to set up additional villages. So that's just one general model concept. And then the pitch to then investors is, hey, you get to invest in change. So anyway, that's just one concept that's just throwing it out there. But I also recognize the time, and that was a really super fruitful meeting. So we're on Discord. So I definitely think we can keep having ad hoc conversations throughout the week. Do you guys want to do a quick closeout round, maybe one word each person or something else, last thought you want to share? And then pass it, we can close out. Yoko unmuted you, so maybe I'll pass it to you and you can pass it.
Hey, yeah, so Douglas Roshkoff likes to say onwards, team human. So here's our village teams, onwards, that's the word. Over to you, Jay.
Anticipation. Go to Sam.
I'm excited. Annie.
Yeah, also excited to see the first steps like coming to life. Going to Matteo in the fields.
Thanks. I'm amazed of what I saw that is already there, and I'm looking forward for what is coming. And Kylie, it's yours.
Yeah, super happy to be here and then want to see more of it materialized. That's what I like. Want to see it visualized and materialized. Pass it over to Kyle.
No, yeah.
You already had the word, but you can add more.
My word is action. I'm excited to take action.
Pass.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. A little technical difficulty up here. I'm going to pass it to Arturo.
For me, the word we moving forward, and happy for that. It's materializing. So, Carsten.
Yeah, curious and then sensing how this thing is actually going to take shape. So looking forward to the next call. Did we have everybody? I think so, yeah. No? What am I missing? Paulo, sorry.
Me and Sarin, I think. Magic. There's a magic when we come together to do something collective. So I sensed magic. Pass it to you, Sarin.
Soren typed in keep going. So
keep going. Good.
Say that for him. Epic, everyone. I'm going to tag some people for having a discussion about the actual UI UX. And I think that'd be the next discussion for me. So excited, and I will talk to you all later. Cheers.
See you soon.
Thank you. See you soon.